Marketing is a means to an end. And the end is the growth of the business in a profitable way.
We have 5 new pieces of creative. And so I said, what if we did this?
No bidding strategy is going to cure a bad business model.
Very true. This is where it's really crazy. Wow. I'm still in awe of that intro.
Oh, I'm super excited. What are you guys going to talk about today? That was exciting.
I know. It's so cool. So cool. Well, obviously here we are in the ad lab. I have to read our script. Hang on. The ad lab, live from the lab. Join us in our performance kitchen, cooking up chaos. Watch our weekly tests go live. Learn what converts and steal the formulas. And John is blowing stuff up, but also creating, I think you've created like your version of, a new atomic weapon.
I think so.
With some of the things that we've been talking about here the last couple of weeks. So pretty excited to talk about this one because this is a new case study.
Yes.
And which we only really talked about briefly here on the pre-record. Mm-hmm. But I love when we get this kind of thing. And I can totally see why it would work, but now we're going to delve deeper into it. So maybe give a little background to this particular business, what you've been doing, and then we can get into the screen share at the ad lab.
So the business is a company that has put together a service offering that is actually really unique. It's essentially an online college kind of prep website that has 100% transferable credits to any college. And you can get all of your, college prep work done online. Mm-hmm. So, if you need to take math, I never went to college. So whatever college class you need, math, history, art, whatever it is, like you need to basically get the prerequisites before you go off to that specific college. These are 100% transferable to any college and it's amazing pricing.
Yeah.
So you can buy them in blocks and you can buy courses, you can buy individuals. So a lot of good stuff. Now,
so very good offer to begin with, which always helps.
Exactly. Very good offer. Yeah. That's one of the things is like being selective about who you work with is just as successful as, how the campaigns run. So they have to have, a good company and a good company / offer and then good marketing. Yeah. So the traditional funnel was a meta campaign driving users to watch a hour and a half webinar. An hour and a half webinar has everything you need to know and understand before you would make a purchase decision. So it has what the course is about, what you could do after the course is completed, people who have completed the course already and what they thought about it. You name it, that hour and a half webinar is like an hour and a half infomercial. So the traditional model that they were struggling to grow and scale with was they were counting the people who started to view the webinar as a conversion. And in true meta fashion, whatever you count as a conversion is usually what you're going to try to optimize and get the most of over a certain amount of time.
Right.
And so I actually made a LinkedIn post, I think last week or whatever it is, about the way that people are learning today and how marketing has to adapt to that. People are learning, engaging, and interacting almost now one step behind the veil, which is the feed. And it's a feed on YouTube, a feed on TikTok, a feed on Meta, a feed on Instagram, you name it. Feed, stories are technically like feeds because you're cycling through predetermined content that's going to be shown to you.
Right.
So less and less people are necessarily clicking to learn. Now it's been pushed by, marketing that they will learn pre-click. And that's when I made the analogy that it used to be email was your digital currency and now it's a click.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows that as soon as you click on an ad, what happens next? You just get bombarded with ads. So
everybody now knows that. That used to be a novel thing, but now it's like my wife even says it. My mother says it. Like she's 89, whatever.
Right. I mean, like everybody knows that as soon as you click on an ad, the next thing you do is just get inundated with more ads. So it makes sense. Now, because people are becoming smart to that, even subconsciously, our marketing, though, has not changed. It's still like, nope, people are going to see the ad. They're going to say, wow, that's fantastic. I'd like to buy it today. They're going to click on it and they're going to buy. Like that hasn't happened in a very long time. Not since like, email marketing came out kind of thing. Like it's multi-step, multi-pronged, multifaceted.
So just, tracking human behavior here, really.
All it is.
It's never changed. So
No, exactly. I mean, people still buy the same way with the information that they need to know. They're just consuming it differently. It will ever evolve consuming it differently.
100%.
In 15 years from now, it's like, we're going to send an ad to your Neuralink and you're going to see it in front of your eyeballs. Whatever it is, we're still going to do the same thing. Just
or,
different.
Your Meta glasses right now, maybe.
There you go.
You know what
Exactly.
I mean? Like that's like a one step away from like what you're talking about here. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the update to the structure and strategy, which is taking landing page / webinar content, chopping it up into bite-size, easy understanding formats, using first click CAPI imports to optimize the campaign for a new customer first click of that campaign so it can continue to learn, grow, and scale. And then it doesn't have the issue where if Meta or Google couldn't see the strung together user, we string it together for them. Then the Andromeda update of letting the creative do the targeting in one ADB sales campaign with no targeting, no exclusions, just letting the creative do its job.
Right.
So we restructured that and we ran it on 2 different ways. And the 2 different ways was the old model in an ad set versus the new model in another ad set. Which the old model was getting webinar signups. The new one is jumping right into a conversion with the creative that is actually being shown to them first. And we have a test running, and the test was about we did this here because I'm just going to get everything loaded here. Give me one moment.
So for those of you, watching and or listening, either on replay here, like what we're really talking about is human psychology, the strategy itself, and then we're deploying obviously the platform, which has an insane amount of AI. There's something interesting I learned about Meta and AI and like the precursor to ChatGPT. I don't know whether you know any of this, but like the precursor to ChatGPT was actually a technology that was purchased by Google and Meta. So it's like they've been working on AI and the algorithm so much, like they're so much smarter and so much more ahead of everything to a certain point. Like they were at the genesis of AI and what we actually know when they first started using NVIDIA chips. So
wow,
that's how smart that algorithm actually is. It's a great podcast. Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's on the founder of NVIDIA, and they talk about this. Anyway,
Jensen Huang?
Yeah, Jensen. Yeah, Jensen Huang.
Oh wow.
So anyway, so the point is like you're using, and I remember we did this way long ago. This is probably 6 or 7 years ago. We had a customer called iPhone Photography School. Great product, and we can't get people to buy our stuff. We have a webinar, and I'm like, get your best video, your most common problem, and chop it up into little snippets, 30, 60, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and put that in the news feed and forget the webinar. Their business tripled in a year. So much so that they hired an internal team and fired us, but we became we became very friendly. There's probably still around. The point is, it's the same thing. Like, take your best stuff. Don't put it behind a walled garden. That's old school. That's 2009, 2010 thinking. Because right now the algorithms are so damn good. It's like they'll know like which part of that content to show next, and that's probably going to be part of the example here.
It's exactly right. And we actually did kind of 2 different tests. So it was a little bit of a messy test because it was changed around a couple times and then changed back, and like over the course of like 2 days here, 2 days there kind of thing. I have about a full month worth of data though, and equal spend. And so I'll share that first because I think that's going to be helpful. And let me go ahead and share screen on this here.
For sure.
And we'll kind of go through the results. So this is basically if we just go from like June 1st to today, we have 10, 5, and 11,000 in spend. So essentially same amount of spend between both ad sets. This one is going for the purchase objective. This one is going to the masterclass viewer objective with the old model, old ads. This one has the new model, new ads. And we'll go through the creative and that here in a moment. But what we noticed is that we wanted to get under a $400 NCAC, $400 cost per acquired first-time customer. Throughout the entirety of it, we were at 405. Now, at the end of this, I will show what happened when we pause things. But what was interesting is if we look at the full before and after of both tests, we spent essentially, if I just do the same daily or same monthly budget, 10, 5, 10, 5, we're within $100 of each other, within 10 grand.
Right.
We have $10 completed masterclass viewers, not people who are starting it, but completion. We actually have the webinar viewers at 1,600 of people that completed it. We import, and that
How long
is
the
1,000.
webinar?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's
very
you're
good.
putting in a time commitment there. Yeah. For 10
and
bucks.
out of 1,600 people that start, 1,000 finish, and the 1,000 completions is what's costing us $10. So it was very, very, very fantastic, and that's what was working for them for some time.
Those are insanely great numbers just to begin with. Like,
right.
This was not a broken business once you started doing what you're doing. Right.
Okay. It just scaled really slow, and it wasn't efficient. And then the scale was, we put in more money, we get a bunch of new viewers, but the purchases aren't really coming in, and we really need to get that down under 400.
Right.
So we looked
throughout
watching
the webinar, but they weren't buying.
Exactly. Well, they were buying, but for $10,000, we have 7 purchases.
Okay.
And then for this $10,000, we have 26. So
for 1,000 people who watched it all the way through, that's pretty low.
Yeah. And what's funny is we even still get like the masterclass viewers. There's 371 people that opted in to the webinar. So that's one of the key differentiators. So we spent 10 grand. We sent them to the option of, would you like to buy it or go view the webinar? This one, it says, you got to view the webinar. So out of 1,600 people that said, fine, I'll view it, 1,000 that completed it, only 7 bought.
Yeah.
Wow. Versus 371 people that watched it when they opted themselves into it, choose your own path, but 26 bought. 1,000 to 7, 300 to 26.
Holy shit.
Why? This model here, you had to go through the entire webinar before you fully understood what it was. Now, how many people are really paying attention to an hour and a half webinar? I know they're completed because this actually automatically rolls to the next page. And when it rolls to the next page, that's our thank you page to trigger the import. So I know they completed. The difference is, and also there's 2 things. The difference is, one, these people here on a $900 per day campaign had 45 different ads all running at once, educating you about why you should do this. Okay. All of the different creatives. So the hooks, like no more excuses. You got to do this now. Like we call them weird, funny things, but essentially how, I did this in just 6 months and UGC and before investing 20K and after, and tweets about it. And you name it, we loaded up with everything that was webinar related and UGC related. I mean, every single ad we've ever had, just push there.
Yeah.
Now, here's what's really interesting is in this last 4 days compared to the previous 4 days, we noticed, well, actually the second half of the month, we noticed a trend. We saw that the NBC purchase objective started to optimize really quickly, and this one started to die off. So what ended up happening is if we look at this next week here, if we just look at this week versus this week, we see this going from a increase in spend to this one starting to decrease, like it started rapidly changing. And we saw that we noticed we had no purchases to 5. Come on, stupid thing. And then this one had 4 purchases to none.
And this is a CBO campaign, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So CBO. So what we're doing right now is essentially allowing whatever's going to get more purchases to take control. Now, the one that had less volume of purchases, we're beating the one that had way higher volume of purchases. The other thing that we noticed is as soon as we turned off the campaigns on the 23rd, this thing rocket shipped to the moon. We basically said, here, you're going to take your spend and you're going to go bye-bye. So this one was paused. This inherited the ad spend and kept increasing with the ad spend. And then my cost per purchase is now in the last 24, 25, 26, 27. We're down to $180. We had a $400 target. And this thing went from 4 purchases to 18. And this thing basically just died off because this ad set stole everybody who was interested and knew who can convert and who could purchase. Right. So now this thing is running just $900 per day with this campaign. And it is, and you can actually see if you look at the view charts of this group here in the last 28 days without a comparison, and we're looking at the purchases, you can see here it's like dun, 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 whoop, like now it's starting to ramp up.
Boom.
So that's what's kind of nice. Cost per purchase is now down here. We're 350. We're still underneath, even having 8 and then 7 and then 2. This was yesterday, and I think, let's see how today's going. We already have 1 today, which is good. So it's only 11 something West Coast time.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're going to be starting. So we basically just shut off everything, and we're just going to let this thing go. Let's see today. We want to be under 400. We're at 311, and we were 350 yesterday. Excellent. So it's still today compared to yesterday, still looking better. Okay. So what's interesting is the way that people want to consume media and be educated. I've essentially used frequency, a ton of ad re-engagement, and a very diverse set of creative to kind of bypass the need to go view an 1.5-hour webinar. So rather than asking someone to please get interested enough to go spend 1.5 hours of your time to figure out why you need to pay me, now as you're just scrolling through, I'm educating you like you've already clicked on ad, like you've already opted in with your email, like you already are viewing the webinar. We just skipped that step, or those 3 steps essentially. Started to educate you. Now when they click, they don't even view the webinar, they just start purchasing.
Yeah. Can you show the difference between the ads before and the ones now? Just to show, can you go that granular?
I used to, but they started to remove them. So that's the part where they started to remove the old ads, and then they started to, that was where it gets a little bit messed up. The other ones started to actually have the same amount of ads. Let me just show you this here.
But they were basically like, were they video ads, image ads? Hey, you've got this problem, watch this webinar, click here to sign up.
And I shared screen. There were more just hooks. There were there were just a whole bunch of hooks. So we don't have the 46. We had 32, and it was more of just like hook 1, hook 2, hook. Okay. So this is just like, why should you view the webinar? Why? Like, come on, do it. Like, it was webinar related.
Right.
So that was the one that we ended up shutting off. And so that was
it's hitting on the different problems that they're facing, obviously, with the webinar being the supposed solution, but you have to opt in to get it. Whereas the other ones are chunks of the webinar. Like, what is the content? Did you sliced it up that way?
Yeah. So the webinar, the ads are now everything that you would be viewing in a webinar kind of recreated a bit. So rather than sitting there getting like a 10-minute clip of a webinar, we essentially recreated that portion of the webinar inside of shorter creative. So we have one area that's like, what opportunities do you have for you after you complete the medical billing and coding update? And what kind of degrees can you, or what kind of jobs can you get? We moved that into a UGC of, I took the class, what this thing has opened up way more doors for me. And so now I'm able to do this with this degree. I can go anywhere I want. I actually can transfer even colleges if I decide to change like a different direction with my major or minor. So it's essentially like a spokesperson telling that portion of the webinar.
I see. Okay. So it's not the webinar itself though. Like that's what I actually thought that the scenario was.
Got it.
Which makes sense, I suppose, but you're really just sort of encapsulating that chunk of the webinar in a UGC testimonial type of ad.
Yeah, no, my original plan was like name a company, just like any company, even like a lead generation company. I mean, shoes you buy, just name a company, anything.
Uggs.
Perfect. Let's do Uggs. Man, we're going back to 2004.
That's right.
All right.
Apparently they're back now.
Are they really? I'm too old.
That's what I've heard.
Oh man, that's funny. So let's do this. Like, all right, cool. New arrivals. Perfect. So let's do this. This right here on their PDP, we have free shipping, free returns. We have earn 150 points. We have a sheepskin lining, a sugarcane EVA. I don't even know what the hell that is, which is actually probably a good idea to put an ad about that to figure out what the hell this is. I'm sure it's probably, some sort of material that is
EVA. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably some material that's easily sourced and resourceable and sustainable alternative. Exactly. Sustainable. Yep. That's what I was looking for. Post-applied treatment. So details, suede or suede with this one here, rear pull tab, sheepskin lining, sheepskin insole, all of these here, for example. The thought process is these should all be different pieces or chunks of creative. So sheepskin lining, great. I need an ad for that. Sugarcane EVA, great. I need a video ad and I need an image ad for that. Post-applied treatment, great. I need to see a before and after of what the treatment does when you have it untreated versus treated. Perfect. Details. All right, now let's say suede or suede with topically applied water repellent treatment. Again, show a stain, show before and after. This is the reason why you pay $120 for something called an UGG. Sheepskin shaft lining, great. Show it on the cold weather, warm weather, how it's breathable but still insulated. Great. So now you're seeing the creative. I need to know all of this thing. What a person is not going to do is go driving down the highway with two kids screaming in the backseat of the car, really wanting to buy the Uggs and literally say, I wonder what 10 millimeter sheepskin shaft lining is. But as I'm sitting there on the couch trying to ignore my little brats because they're running around and I'm burnt out, I'm just making up fun scenarios for engagement. Now, as I'm scrolling through, you're showing me, guess what I have? Guess what I have? Did you know? And here's how it works. No, my girls are angels.
Yeah.
But other people's kids. So that's the part too, that's the theory though, is taking if it's good enough to put as a bullet point on your landing page, you should have an ad for it.
Right. And you have to figure UGG is probably pretty smart, obviously a successful company. There's a reason why they have those bullets, those features plus benefits on the actual, PDP page in essence.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a specific reason for it. If you haven't done your research and you're just spitballing, you don't really know. If you're early in the stage, maybe that's something that you'll need to find out. But the point is like you probably already have a lot of the ideas for this content sort of machine that we've talked about here on so many shows, probably embedded in your business somewhere. It's just a matter of going and finding it.
You probably already have, like from 2 years ago, Google Drive that has that ad in there.
Probably.
And now with their creative targeting, it's revived. It's been refreshed. It's alive again. Yeah. So people think, I use that ad I can never use again. No, absolutely you can. Now, as long as you don't copy and paste the post ID so that it sees it differently, you can modify and tweak it a little bit, do some different primary text, maybe refresh the image slightly. Boom, new ad. And now that can do creative targeting.
It's so true, though, John. That's actually another great point is that, we've had clients that have been around for 7-8 years and like, well, we can't go back and use the stuff that we used before because people have already seen it. Really?
People don't remember the ad they saw yesterday.
Do you think they really remember like a lipstick ad from your brand that they saw 3 years ago? Bring that sucker back. Exactly. Oh, well, it's like our spokesperson has a different hairstyle now. Who cares?
Exactly. It's so funny because it's like even past loves are great. People used to wear Uggs and then they no longer wear Uggs and they're like, damn, I wish these were cool again. Well, now they are. And for all the same reasons you loved before, but refreshed and revitalized and revigorated.
Right.
Those are, and people, it's a reason why, people drunk dial their ex at 2 a.m. They want to reminisce.
What's the word for that? I saw an ad the other day for an insurance company. It's not the thing, the love of old things. I'm drawing a blank. There's a word for it. I'll search it. Nostalgia, right? Yeah. People love nostalgia.
Exactly.
Nostalgia sells.
I mean, it's been keeping the antique business alive for infinity.
Absolutely. Why do we buy like shabby chic crap? Because it's nostalgic. Oh my God.
Exactly right. So that's what's kind of cool is like when you're thinking about the ways that people are engaging and consuming content, we all do it. But there's a massive cognitive dissonance that people go through where it's like, I will act one way, but this is the industry standard. It's like the industry standard is how you're acting today, honestly, and how collective people are acting nowadays. And the faster you can adapt to that, the better you can be a first mover. And so that's what Andromeda is doing. Andromeda is basically just saying, hey, you got to educate and entertain and inform and engage people that they need to then re-engage back. And if not, you'll be penalized for it. So the way to do that is diversification of content that you can say, no, don't click and don't read. I'll do that for you. It's like ChatGPT in ad format. What shoes should I buy? Have you seen Uggs? They have this and 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 this. And this. Thank you, ChatGPT. Well, that's now meta feed. Man, I want some shoes. Have you seen Uggs? They've been revitalized. They're popular again. And these are all the reasons why. And this is actually how it's been enhanced. Excellent. Thank you, Facebook feed.
Yeah.
We're just little Wallies and chairs, sipping straws, getting fed information through to a tube.
This makes like the algorithm once again. Meta is spending $65 billion on AI and data centers to make this harder. You can't tell me that you can outsmart the algorithms at this point, which makes us as marketers like you don't necessarily need to be like the reincarnation of Eugene Schwartz, David Ogilvy, and Claude Hopkins to figure this stuff out. Like, take the 7 or 8 different features of your product, create a video around that, literally with benefits in the video. There you go. Like, do 5 of them. It's not really that complicated. Like, for you in this webinar, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, well, there's a feature on this, on, billing, and it's a recertification, and it's this and it's that. Take the chunks from your webinar that are your big selling points. Maybe even look at some of your data inside, whatever video, production system that you're using. Where are there spikes? Where do people like, where is the interest? Where do people drop off?
Yeah.
It's like literally rate. Exactly. Stop the scroll. Like, that's literally it. Look at your landing page. Put a heat map on your landing page or your home page. Where are people clicking? Like, there you go. Every one of those little data points is a piece of content that you should be throwing into this algorithm now, because it's so smart. It'll figure out exactly who to show which ad to at the right time.
Exactly. And then what's funny too is, like, we can see all of the same thing that I share with you before, which is when you're running so many pieces of creative, and when you're running so much ad spend, when you look at the amount of ad spend that is starting to increase here, like, we didn't really do anything this last 7 days compared to previous 7 days. It was running about the same, but some things went from like $23 to 686. Now, when you're looking at, okay, I'm going to do my normal thing that I would do before. Oh man, this sorting is not going to work on me again. I click it once and it like refreshes. It's really strange.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do this and then it works. Oh, you know what? Let me close down Uggs. That's gotta be the problem.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Uggs sucking up all your random access memory.
Uggs sucking up all my bandwidth. Anyway,
with all those data centers, this wouldn't happen on Meta. But anyway, go ahead.
I know, right? And now I don't even have like a before and after. It's just showing me the exact same before and after with 0% changes sometimes. Anyway, well, as soon as this thing can sort, what the moral of the story is we saw the most amount of ad spend going to the ones that had the most amount of click attributed conversions. Then we see engaged view conversions starting to identify itself on the left-hand side with re-engagement of other creative. Then those turn into click engaged conversions. And so far, like, I can see how this moves yet again for the 3rd time.
Right.
What's really interesting about this is we found that 7-day click one day view is almost like it is a non-negotiable for Meta. I believe that is a large part of this. We've tried the 7-day click no one-day view, nothing works. So if you're doing CAC imports, your standard tag, whatever it is, if you don't have that one-day view as a useful feedback tool for Meta's algorithm that is focusing on conversions to see
this is your this is your optimization setting in the ad set, just so people know what this is. This isn't like your attribution menu. This is how you want the ads to be optimized. So one-day view, 7-day click, you click both.
Exactly. And I think it's working now. So let me see if I can get the so last 7 days compared to previous 7 days. I can't show the actual last 7-day comparison with this attribution setting on.
Okay.
But this is sorting descending in spend 1,000, 500, 400, 200 like this. It gets really good spend distribution actually, which is pretty impressive.
That's amazing, because there was a day when it was like 4 or 5, and then it was like 1 that just got all the spend. Like, this algorithm has gotten so freaking smart.
Yeah. And remember what I said. Okay, so ad spend is going to the top 2 into where they see the most click attributed conversions, and then we start to see other things get a one-day view here. Now let's fast forward to the next week. Now we have way more click attributed conversions up here at the top, which is also having the highest amount of spend that is ratcheting up. And now we have more one-day views that are coming along the side now a little bit more, but now we have all of our 7-day click, which is we had 2 or 3 before. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 different ones that equal 17. And I don't know if it'll hold the comparison. It might, but yeah, it says the attribution will removed. But there we go. So at least you have the ads there. It's going all of a sudden now the amount spent is like we're going to spend 1,000 to or 1,100 to 1,800. We're going to spend 23 to 700, 500 to 700. And all of these are just, starting to go from 0 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 8, 0 to 2, 0 to 1.
Yeah.
It's starting to see how it's like, okay, I found my audience.
Yep.
700% more in a
Boom.
week.
Boom.
So
For you,
Mhm.
technical question here before we get to questions here, which we do want to get to,
Yeah.
is this is non-CAPI import? This is just straight standard events, custom conversions, or what are you doing here?
This is CAPI import. Yeah.
Okay.
I've almost found that CAPI import is a non-negotiable.
By default.
By default. Yeah.
Got it.
But I'll do a half of a instance just because I think this is actually really important to see. I'm going to swap over to a different account. This one will be another case study for another time. This will be probably for next week.
Sure.
We paused everything. That's why you'll see delivery error. This is the first week of switching to CAPI imports because we saw going from a positive 15, 20% year over year to a negative 40% year over year in 1 month as soon as Andromeda came out. And so we were stuck there from March, April, May, swapped everything in June, which is what we did here. So we turned off all of our other campaigns. So the amount spent is, well, you would see like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Like everything was reduced down. I don't know why the meta is just so messed up for me today. And then pushed all of our ad spend into a RCNC CAPI import.
Okay.
Now, what ended up happening is we had some good CPAs, but let me just do this here. I'll take off. I don't even know what that's even comparing. Week 1, $50 for returning customer, $400 for a new customer. We had 26 purchases, 15 new, 16 returning. That's what it was trying to do the first week, half and half. It was giving us $400 for a new customer. If we let this go with just a normal per purchase, we'd probably be stuck there. Fast forward from first week of this month to last week of this month, we went from 388 down to $38. And now we're seeing out of 346 sales, 265 new, 71 returning. But if we let Meta do what it wanted to do, which is focus on RC, the RC ones are 165 returning and 20 new, but we're only paying $17 for returning. So the other model, and this here 46 is the blend between two of those here. And that's what left just website purchases on. This is now getting 120 and 53, but it was also even at the beginning of the month because that's where it was trying to target. So I do believe that NCRC is still key because when we're optimizing for one versus the other, the first week, they're both 50-50. They will give you half new, half returning. And if you scale that, every dollar you put in goes 50 cents the wrong direction.
Well, which is okay.
Right.
But
well, not if you're trying to scale one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean, the goal isn't, I mean, we actually had a customer, you'll laugh. This is the one that we had the talking to. And they said, why aren't you guys focused on returning customers? It's because they only buy once. You remember that customer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, well, why should we bother? It's like, we want to go find new ones. And Facebook is getting you $15 new customers. Like, no, but we want returning. I'm like, their revenue just kept going down and down and down. Me and Ricardo are going to do a perpetual traffic episode on that whole thing.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Just to show like what not to do, but it's like
But if you did RCNC, I mean, then you're like, okay, $17 for returning and $38 for new, and they're both
really
optimized.
Matter, though. With that, like in some cases, like you used the hammock example, it's like it's usually it's not like a returning customer. It's a new customer. Because I mean, in that particular case, it's in the seed business, so it's like it's a commodity. Basically, it's like, how many seeds can I get for the lowest price? I don't really care about any features, benefits. I just want my zinnias. You know what I mean?
And I would agree there. One thing though, and this is what I had to break down for another client when we kind of started discussing this is, let's say you do or do not have returning customers. That doesn't matter if you actually do or not. You're buying CPM impressions.
Right.
What percentage is it targeting?
I mean, it's probably targeting, like it's targeting the easiest conversion. The people that have either bought or have been to your site or have some sort of familiarity with your brand and are in the market at that particular point in time.
Right. And it's kind of like we actually might not even know. I mean, honestly, is because it's like, hey, I don't have returning customers. It still could be true that you're spending 80% of your money on them. Yeah.
Well, in their case, they're probably buying the returning customer from the year prior when they planted their zinnias. So I don't know.
Exactly. Now, that one is definitely a unique use case, but there is something that I see people sometimes taking too much face value inside of Meta. I'll share screen, and here's what's really interesting.
I'm happy if you prove me wrong on this one.
No, it's not a prove wrong. I think there's a little bit deeper dive.
Right. But
now,
we had a challenge just getting
100%.
this message across. That was the problem.
That was a communication receiving issue.
Yeah, we fired them, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. But,
anyway.
So as an example, in this purchase NC, we're spending 57 cents on existing customers, is what Meta says, right? So my question is, if we're spending 57 cents, well, unless that 57 cents brought us 71 returning customers, no.
Huh.
Aha.
What's the number for it for the entire campaign? I didn't see the number. Sorry.
So we have $8,000 on new.
Yeah.
$2,100 on engaged audience, and only 57 cents on existing customers is what Meta is lying about.
Okay.
What the actual imports on first click shows that we actually have 71 purchases on returning customers and 265 on new. So if we were in a scenario where we were going toe to toe with somebody, they could say, Ralph, I'm only spending 57 cents on existing customers. You're wrong. Well, you can't be import and say, no, then how is that equating to 70? It's because Meta doesn't know.
Yeah.
And is still trying to target warm, even though they won't portray it. So even if you're saying we don't have existing customers, or maybe we have too many, the only thing we actually care about is where is that dollar going when it leaves Meta's bank account and tries to find the person. Where does it go? Does it go to your returning customers or new? Because you can spend $100 on existing customers and not one buys. It doesn't mean your existing customers aren't buying. Well, actually it does, but it doesn't mean you're not spending on them inefficiently.
Right. Very interesting.
Cool.
Of course, if you want any and all of this done for you, head on over to tier11.com/apply. There's your sales pitch. This is this is total cutting edge and very, very cool. And we were the original Facebook ad agency. It's finally happening where the algorithm is really, really working in the way that it was always promised.
Yeah. It took 10 years.
Cool.
Woo, got it.
It took about 10 years. Yeah, that's it.
Well, if you think about it, it took Johnson & Johnson like 40 years to be big. So that's actually pretty quick.
Actually, wait a second. I ran my first Facebook ad in 2009. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So we're talking 16 years. So right-hand rail, baby.
Damn. Yep.
All right. Well, let's get to some questions here.
Let's do it.
John Moran's dog. First question. Hello. What would the ad lab be without John Moran's dog? All right. It wouldn't be here. It just wouldn't be here. What are the thoughts on your new channel performance report in PMAX? Can you now see the share of dynamic remarketing versus shopping in the search network?
I actually have not really run Performance Max in some time now that I've been actually doing the import from clicks with Edge data. It actually has allowed my non-PMAX campaigns to attribute so much more and move so much faster. And I now use PMAX only for remarketing in a couple small accounts, and I'm turning them off actually this week. So unfortunately, I don't have any sort of insight into the new channel performance report in PMAX, only because, you know what, I will look through it though. If I have an account that still has one or two up, I leave them on just sometimes for like brand, just like a dumping ground of extra brand stuff. But I don't use it too much. So I'll look into it, but
because it's John Moran's dog asking. And
I will definitely look into it. Yeah. I have not, I've seen so much better success off of PMAX with imports. I'm like, I don't have to rely on that good ROAS to like save the client's head while I, or headaches while I go and do good marketing. I was like, now I get to shut that off.
Yeah. Have you used AI Max at all?
Yeah, I'm testing it now. So I have some updates. I only have 2 accounts that's on there. But I have enabled them. It's kind of like just a little DSA element. It's just like, hey, would you like us to update your ad copy and also go to some separate pages? So I actually went through a kind of a smaller account, cleaned up their /sitemap.xml, removed every page that wasn't relevant because it was kind of like a small subset website of the medical portion of this bigger company. So it was only medical. So I'm like, hey, you can go to any one of those pages. All of them apply to all the marketing that we're doing. So we cleaned up all the site links, or sorry, the sitemap, and then ran AI Max. And now I'm going to see where it goes and what it does. So I'll have some awesome use cases for you guys soon.
Okay. That'll be interesting. Second question for you. Have you seen any changes we had Unbounce, the people from Unbounce are a sponsor of Perpetual Traffic. So we had them on this past week, and they were talking about the change from that Google really didn't announce in February, but sort of did, about quality score based upon landing pages. Have you seen anything in the last 3 to 4 months there? I know we've never talked about it here, but they were all about that big thing. What are your thoughts?
I've seen two oddities. One, I've seen kind of okay, kind of crappy 3, 4, 5 quality scores go to like 8 and 9 if the campaign performs well. Okay, so that's just kind of like its own report card, I guess. And then the other thing I've seen is that site speed is the number one factor for every single thing except for ad relevancy. So landing page experience, expected click-through rate, and quality score move 80% of its weight into site speed for some reason.
Yeah. Well, it's a better user experience, so it makes sense. But
yeah. So
okay.
that's been the biggest influence.
Yeah. Well, it totally makes sense. It like avoids that backklick, which is what they're trying to do.
Yeah, user experience blows to the roof. So they're like, great. That seemed like they're focusing on a fast user experience. I mean, it makes sense because AMP came and gone. So now they're just forcing you with like, fine, we'll just measure you like you're going to use AMP.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Mitch Barnum is in the house. Thank you.
Hey, sir. Now we can start.
We started without you. I gave him a virtual lollipop in the chat. Soren Tutu's here as well. Welcome.
Hey.
Modern Music Solutions has a question. Having some insanely up and down performance on ads that ran forever successfully, trying these new meta campaigns. Feels like I'm running around in circles trying to make sense of it. It's interesting. We asked you about this last week. Have you had any failures or have you had any like weird performance stuff? You said you hadn't, but what do you say to modern music?
I yes. Now here's what I know. Or now here's what I know. I assume that a lot of people are frequently modifying the campaign. I was going to say tinker, but that's
touchy.
I was going to say tinker, but that's a rude statement. This is what we have been seeing, which is watch the graph, returning customer chart. Lull explosion. New customer chart. Lull explosion.
So 21 days or so.
Yep. And then we see, oh, you know what? This is a great use case. We know these people.
Yep. Of course.
This is what we're seeing in real time. I attempted to no longer work with this company, not due to any sort of, disagreements or anything. I just said, hey, it's going so warm that you should just pause majority of your ad spend and you'll actually be okay. And it came down to the fact with, okay, we'll do what you say. And what did you find? And so I said, okay, we're doing the imports. And what we found out is that look at the cost per acquired first-time customer is at $6,000 because this campaign can get 19 existing customers for every one. And
Lobster ain't that profitable.
Yep. And 18 purchases with 0, and now 245 purchases, 25 new customers. So when I told them you could shut off your ad spend, do email marketing, and you'll make the same amount of money and you'll save 30 grand a month. That's because when we started to increase the ad spend, nothing happened because it was targeting all existing customers like it has been for the last 2 years. So this part right here, I'm doing nothing. It's $6,000 per acquired first-time customer, one campaign, one ad, all ads. I'm not touching this for about 45 days. You just wait, and all of a sudden, remember the first case study, nothing happened all month. Last week, all of a sudden, $400 averages down to $170 new customers.
You gotta wait.
It's right now, it's going through everything. So if you're pausing ads, you're creating new ads. If you're doing cost caps, if you're adjusting budgets, stop everything.
Because I know there's a client call at the bottom of the hour that they want you on because I think that hasn't hit yet. And I think you know which client that is specifically. It's like, and the answer is wait. Yeah. But the client's breathing down our neck because we're waiting. At what point does it kick in? That's really sort of the question. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with, first impression to first purchase. It's just the algorithm taking its sweet time, figuring it all out. Probably dependent upon ad spend is my guess, but what have you seen there as far as
the in-platform metrics here are actually extremely poor, but the top line NCAC, we're actually $20 better than we were before this swap. So what's interesting is it went from a $65 sale to a $6,000 sale in platform, but my new customer went from 95 to 75 in that same week.
Yeah.
So it's actually much better regardless of what the imports say. The imports are designed to steer a campaign a particular direction. But if you're using that as your reporting tool, in-app should never be your reporting. That's rule number one. Right. Business metrics should be. So if we're looking at in-app saying, why is that bad? That's a subset of a design to keep it particular direction so that it can scale. Right. But what has happened to the top line since then? And that is what is the actual importance. What's funny about this is if we even just hop into the back-end metric of this,
we are a little backed up on.
Yeah, we're a little backed up.
I want to make sure we get to those, but anyway.
We'll get to this here we'll jump right into that. But I do want to say though that if everyone is only looking at in platform or that type, you may have insane up and down performance. The interesting thing about this here, for example, is when we're looking at like first click in the last 7 days, I have 2 and I'm seeing 6, but attentive is taking all of it. Mm-hmm. So when we actually look inside of this and add up new customers week over week says to change, the only thing we did was pause everything but that one, and NCAC got $20 cheaper. And so that's perfect. So that's what we have to look at is I'm waiting for this to say good news, but I've already received the actual good news.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. All right. So hang on just a little longer. Mark Pommet asks, how often should I increase budget on feeder campaigns? ROAS on my broad match campaigns has doubled the last 3 weeks, but the spend hasn't gone up. Conversion lag is 4 days, 50-50 budget split.
If you're increasing budget, so ROAS again will not necessarily matter. You might actually increase your ad spend on your first click campaigns and see actual better performance if you're running feeder on shopping, because you said ROAS. Broad match is interesting because ROAS on broad match, I don't know if that's lead gen or e-commerce. Is that VBB on lead gen, or are you running search with running search with e-commerce? Because that was kind of my question. So I don't know exactly the format, but if it's search, you want to be a lot.
Type that in the comments there. Maybe Mark can just type that in the comments. But
if you can, we'll get to you right before we jump, but just let me know and I'll come right back to it as soon as we see it. Okay. Because I have 2 different scenarios for you.
Got it. Joaquin says a campaign is performing below the ROAS targets we've set. Should we lower the target to get more conversions, or is it better to keep it and wait for the system to optimize? Current ROAS is 250%. I'm assuming he's talking Google here.
Yeah. And because usually if you're doing like a target ROAS, like you have cost caps in Meta and that kind of stuff, but I don't know if you really have a target ROAS or target ROAS. So I would assume it's Google.
Still do, John.
I know, right? So I think what I would say, by the way, we use a shopping PMax feeder strategy is the next question. So, okay. Yep, makes sense. So with Google, I would say I've been teaching lately to use still a very low T ROAS. A high T ROAS, Google will manipulate CPCs in order to get you into that target ROAS. So your target, if it's actually engaged, is a real target. If you want to get 250, it's going to try to get 250, and it will be right and wrong, and it'll kind of bounce off that ceiling, but that's kind of what you set. I use it more like a floor. So my target ROAS is usually 40 to 60%, because what you're doing is a low T ROAS expands your available audience to be aggressively attacked. High T ROAS shrinks your available audience to very little and aggressively goes after them, which is why you can't spend.
Totally makes sense. Mark Pommet has feeder on search. Just to follow up here, yes. Okay. I'm not sure what yes is, but search on
feeder on search. I wouldn't increase that more than 20% per week or every 2 weeks. If you're doing lead generation, then longer, because you're gonna have to wait for those sales cycles to kick in. If you're doing e-commerce, I would actually switch to shopping. So if you're doing e-commerce, search feeder is the most expensive thing I've ever seen in my life. It's like $6 to $10 CPCs at volume, where you can get 10 times the volume for like $2. So if you can, if I'm assuming correctly, I would actually switch to a shopping feeder instead.
Got it. Makes sense. All right. Supernova. All right. What's the best conversion goal for payment on delivery businesses, OCT purchases, or submit lead forms?
We actually did imports. I forget what country they had payment on delivery, but it was like that's what most people do in that country. So as soon as it was completed and delivered, we just had the CMS import it that it was a completed delivery payment closed out.
Yeah.
So imports were best.
Did you use the Zapier integration, or did you just do it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was back then. It was the only one that had direct integration with Salesforce, and they weren't big enough for that.
Right. Well, Zapier is
it's beautiful. It bugs out every like 3 days, but the other part is fed. The other functionality is great.
They should sponsor this show.
Seriously.
They should sponsor like perpetual traffic, for crying out loud. Like
I wouldn't mind like a Zapier wrapped Ferrari. I'd drive that for a company car.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. Get me a Porsche RS. All right, let's see. Dave CT says, I assume that's Connecticut. Hello, Connecticut. I'm in San Diego today, but targeting 55 plus audiences in meta frequency as high as 3 to 5 and increases of scale. CPMs are 30 plus. Pixel only installed on specific funnels. Could Pixel be related to this? Ideas to improve here. Interesting question.
You're targeting 55 audience on Meta. So my question is your targeting might be completely wiped from you now, Dave, on Meta, because Andromeda takes over targeting and uses your targeting as a suggestion, even if you're not on the new campaign. The audiences are now switched to the creative targeting. So what unfortunately I don't have a lot of targeting strategies for you, because your targeting conversations now start with creative. So if we're looking at targeting audience of 55 plus, my question would be is if you ignored all of your actual in-platform media buying, and that's what I'm saying is in-platform, the technical media buying has been snuffed and the creative targeting has been buffed. So basically have we been creating avatar directed creative to the 55 plus audiences, running 20, 30, 40 of those? How have those performed? That would be my question back.
That's your key. Snuffing and buffing here.
There you go.
Of course. So
the old snuff and buff.
The old snuff and buff. I've seen it a million times. So it comes back to creative yet again, sort of the solution we keep coming back to. Stuart Little, product arousal oils, perfumes, and massage oils, standard shopping and PMAX, a lot of brand search, dip in ROAS, maybe because ROAS is set to 300%. Should I use feeder strategy, run standard shopping with max clicks, and get the conversion through PMAX with high target ROAS of 400%?
All right. Sorry, I said someone calling me and I was ignoring it.
Arousal oils. There we go.
Standard shopping and PMAX, a lot of brand search, dip in ROAS, maybe because ROAS, yes. Should I use feeder strategy, run standard shopping with max clicks? So I would actually run a feeder strategy. I would do a low T ROAS standard shopping and then a high T ROAS of PMAX. Low T ROAS, which is 40% of standard shopping. Keep your high T ROAS on PMAX at 400 though. You want one feeding of the majority users. You want the other one remarketing, scalping, and sniping them essentially when they can find them. And the leftover branded inbound search should go into that performance max. So run a PMAX, not optimizing for newer returning customers only. Don't exclude the brand. Set that at 400. Let your standard shopping do a 40. Start with a 50-50 budget. And then if you see good performance in performance max or good performance overall in the campaign, only scale the standard shopping. Do not scale the PMAX.
Is that the only time you'd use performance max to this point?
I mean, I don't even do that anymore because what happens is performance max, when it runs, sucks up all of the attribution. So your standard shopping campaigns get very little because you get the first click in standard shopping. Then you get search shopping, YouTube, GSP, discover, display, impressions, and brand in PMAX. So data driven is like, wow, you did nothing. But when I'm doing first click imports, it goes back to standard shopping. And then I don't even need PMAX anymore. So I just scale standard shopping and then I let Meta do all the remarketing. But because it's first click, I don't let Meta give any credit. So it's perfect.
When you look at Google accounts and do audits and that kind of thing, we haven't talked about this in a while. Do you see PMAX still used a lot, or
like 95% of the accounts? Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That high? Okay.
Oh, Google pushes it. They will beat you over the head and call you at 2 o'clock in the morning and be like, you need to do it now. And then they'll go around your boss or go to your boss and it's like, your team sucks. Like they're literally going to now clients around media buyers and getting them fired for not running PMAX. Like it's crazy.
They're just trying to scoop up all that inventory, which is dead inventory, really.
Well, they
Just
like to
jump
price
traffic.
fix everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
of course. It's like go into the black box or you suck.
Yeah.
Great. That's cool. I
Sure.
mean,
Trust us. We'll take your money.
I know. Yeah. Trust a publicly traded company that emails you saying you don't give us enough money. Like, holy shit, I'd love to be able to do that to my client. My bank account's limited by budget, client.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what's amazing to me is like their earnings haven't really been affected by like AI search, any of this stuff. Maybe they're making so much bank on PMAX, but people
Well,
are going to be wise to it eventually, and it's gonna be effective.
I don't know.
No,
I would
you
say
don't
the
think
earnings
so?
are good. The balance sheet's fantastic. They're still making over 100 billion net profit. The problem is Wall Street believes that AI is going to kill them, not knowing that they're actually working on a better, even quantum AI. So it'll be like, wow. I'm sure that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, AI is what it is. All right.
Yep.
And rest. We've got 3 minutes here. I actually have to speak on stage in about 20 minutes, so I gotta get going. And rest. If you had only 2 metrics to see a Google ad account 1 year data, what would it be besides conversion volume to check things are right here?
Things are right here, I think is what he's saying. Like everything's correct. If you only had 2 metrics to see a Google ads account 1 year data, I would actually, one metric would be is the difference between brand and non-brand search terms and a spend level compared to the total. So you say if you spent $1 million this year, how much of that was on branded terms versus non-branded terms? I mean, I know it's not one metric, but there is no one metric that will tell me the health. That is a one major metric. And then I would say, what is your ROAS? Because anything above 2 typically means too much overspend on more traffic for me.
Got it. Makes sense. Last question we can do here. We're going to have to leave a little bit early. Stuart, again, one last. Oh, he's asked about this before. Lead gen for CT scan, spine surgery service, no audience targeting on Meta. We're just targeting the location, age group, and running on Advantage plus help.
Yes. So you can target location and age group. It will use it as a signal. The biggest thing, though, is going to be your content diversification and your creative. Honestly, now it's like the only thing that Google or the Meta now looks at is when you create a new account, you're like, okay, here's my credit card. Like, here's my website. Here's my targeting. Don't give a shit. Where's your creative? Got creative. Okay, I got everything I need.
Right.
So that's kind of what it does now. So,
and probably in this, because this is a regional business, is my guess. You know, like you probably don't want any targeting anyway. Like you maybe, do an age range thing, but
yeah, honestly, like you're looking for like who would be the person that's going to engage with this creative, and you have to think now complete reverse as to everything you've ever been taught for the last decade. It's all been just flipped around on you. So now we're in the land of, okay, if I can't target anybody, who will resonate with this ad, and how many do I need, and what do I need to tell them?
Probably a lot in this case.
My opinion is if you're like the freelancer employee or in the digital department marketing, my opinion, whoever does the inbound sales calls, that is a gold mine for you. What objections do they have to overcome? What words and phrases do you use to get them to sign up? What are they actually interested in when they call? What stops them or makes them purchase when they're asking about A, B, and C, and D, and E, and F? Those are all of your creatives.
Fabulous point right there. And that's old school marketing. Thank you
very
much, John Moran. Well, thank you very much for everybody who participated here today and is going to be watching. We get a lot of rewatches on this. A lot of calls coming in because they watch this stuff here.
That's
of course,
awesome.
You need our help. tier11.com/apply. Happy to have you at the Ad Lab. We were cooking up some chaos in the performance kitchen here today, John.
That's right. Some good old fashioned ad meth.
That's right. Ad meth. That's right. Breaking Bad on the ad side. All right, everybody. Next week, I believe, is July 4th. Are we doing a July 4th thing?
I don't know, actually.
Jeez, I don't know.
We could try to do like a July 3rd. I don't even know if I'm going to be. I don't think I'm gone or anything, but I gotta check with my boss, my wife, to see if we're here or not on Friday.
Yeah,
I think I am.
I'm flying on Thursday all day, so I don't know. We might not have an ad lab next week, but anyway, we'll let you guys know. But anyway, appreciate everyone showing up today. We will see you.
Thank you, everybody.
Every Friday. See y'all.
That was good.